The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/thepodcastingdead.
It's time for some Walking Dead What Ifs. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we are the Podcasting Dead. If you're new to this channel, this is the part of the week where we just take listener questions about what could have been in the Walking Dead universe, and we speculate. Also, check out our video about the possible return of the Governor to the Walking Dead series. Well, to the Tales of the Walking Dead, but check that out for more information. But in the meantime, we're answering your questions. We're a little bit more on the time constraint today, so we probably won't be able to get to all of them. But if you really wanted us to answer it, please, 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 if we ever don't get to your question, just take it and post it at the bottom of this video, and I promise you we will eventually get to it.
Yeah, man, we got a nice little list. Like you said, we're going to keep it, keep it brief, but still keep it filling.
Nice and tight.
Yeah, here's a good one from UV. What if Dr. Edwin Jenner left with Rick and his group?
Didn't we answer that one?
Have we?
I don't know. We'll answer it again, though. Maybe we didn't. Maybe we didn't.
I can't remember.
Maybe I might have just read it. You know what I mean? Like when I get the notifications, that might be why I'm thinking it sounds familiar.
Yeah, and this is off of our second Walking Dead What If from last week, so I don't think I've broached any of these.
If Dr. Jenner would have left with the group, well, we would have still had him and that one lady whose name I keep forgetting because she was only on a few episodes. The one who was like, they got Jim. They bit Jim.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I could have still just seen him in a downward spiral, though. I mean, he just looked like there was no hope left in that guy's heart. So, I mean, even if momentarily they would have talked him out of blowing the building up or leaving with them before it blew up, I feel like he still would have just been blah. But that could be good character development. We could have had him come back and find a new purpose for being alive, but I just don't think he would have made it very long out there.
Well, one thing I would have enjoyed seeing is right out the gate, he would have called bullshit on Eugene's story. He would have exposed Eugene from the start.
I'm Dr. Eugene Porter of the Human Genome Project. But there's no Human Genome Project.
Yeah.
There's no base in D.C. Like, I had an Iron Man type layer,
right.
And I can tell you're full of shit.
Yeah. Tell me your credentials again, Dr. Porter. Where'd you go to school? Who did you blah, blah, blah?
I do not wish to share it. It is classified.
Yeah.
But that would have been really cool, though. Like that's a good point. That would be for the long haul, though. I mean, that was the end of season one.
A long time, yeah.
You could have had him. I mean, like really a cool way to have wrote it would have been to have him for a little while and then have him disappear and then have him come back at some point. Or maybe he leaves or gets separated from the group, and down the road we find out he's the doctor for the sanctuary, and then him and Eugene come. It would be cool, but I don't know as far as affecting the story. I don't really know. I mean, basically the information he had, he told Rick.
Yeah, that's true. I still say they should have used him in some capacity on the World Beyond, just like the notes from one of the last scientists at the end of the apocalypse. Or
Dr. Edwin Jenner from the CDC out in Georgia. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Or maybe had little clips from his video blog or whatever he was doing, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it would have been a cool little Easter egg and at least one good thing about the World Beyond.
We've just been spoiled by the Avengers and Marvel movies because, every movie has got some little tidbit tying into another one or references or character cameo. You know what I mean? We've really just come into that age because of the Marvel movies. And I say that as someone who just went back and rewatched, I rewatched Thor, which I don't get the hate on that one. A lot of people did not like that movie.
The first one?
Yeah, I enjoyed the first Thor. Actually, I know this isn't a popular opinion. I actually enjoyed Thor: The Dark World. I'm not sitting here saying it deserves, awards, but I enjoyed it. But I went back and watched Thor, and then I watched, Avengers, Age of Ultron. But I mean, just like in all of these movies, you've got so many references to other things in other movies. And I guess that's why, with The Walking Dead, we just really would love. I don't know why they don't do that. I mean, it's got to be easy to write into the story. I mean, like you said, based on the notes we found from one of the last doctors left alive out in Georgia's CDC, Dr. Edwin Jenner, we find that blah, 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 blah. And I mean, that's all you got to do. And we're like, oh, snap, they referenced themselves.
Yeah, man. And it's not like he was some backwoods scientist, working out of a shack or something. I mean, he was like one of the last CDC scientists in the whole world. I mean,
what if we find out? What if we find out Eugene wasn't lying? He just didn't want to leave. He decided he didn't want to take the journey.
I don't know, man.
No, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah. But no, that's a cool road to go down, UV. And let's see what we got. Some good stuff here, as always, from Stefan Miller. What if the saviors that encountered Abraham and Sasha and Daryl on the road had actually killed Sasha and then took Daryl and Abraham back to the sanctuary in season 6? How would this have changed the story, the lineup, the war, the outpost attack, etc.?
Well, first off, I don't think it would have been their MO to take them back. I believe they would have killed Sasha and then made them take them back to where, the only way I could see them getting taken back to the sanctuary would be if they just refused to take them to Alexandria. Mm-hmm. Then, yeah, they might go try to torture them to get the information. But, I mean, let's just assume that, Sasha's a tough one because I would say, assuming he killed, Daryl and then, Abraham knows he's not playing. And the only way I could see Abraham taking them to Alexandria would be if Sasha's life were in danger. And then they could roll on up there and do their thing. But with Sasha dying, it would have changed so much. You wouldn't have had the Rapey Davy scene.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was awesome. What I loved so much about, the season 7 and 8 were very drug out and slower than they needed to be. But with that said, we got some really great Negan moments. And I love it because most of them are lifted almost shot for shot from the comic, including the Rapey Davy scene. That was so cool to have read that in the comic and then see it play out almost in the exact same way. But you wouldn't have had Sasha coming out the casket, which is funny because that was one of our questions last time was what if Sasha would have successfully bit Negan and killed him when she came out the casket. Now we're doing a complete other worlds where she never was in the casket.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting because Sasha was only captured because she tried to infiltrate the facility. So I don't know that. I mean, I wonder how that second confrontation would have played out without Negan feeling like he had some kind of leverage. Would he have even approached them then? And what would his plan of attack been if he didn't have Sasha in the casket?
Yeah, man, I definitely think we would have seen Negan torturing one or the other to get the location of Alexandria because, like you said, I don't see them just leading them back there.
Yeah, I think that's so. I'm wrong on my own remark. I think naturally the order of things would be first. I guess what I was trying to say was I guess that they wouldn't just take them back. They would first try to get them to take them to where they go, and then they wouldn't do it, and then maybe they would take them back and torture them until they got the. But I don't know that either one would have ever gave it up. I mean, we know Abraham's tough as hell at the face of adversity. He just pokes his chest out and is like, "Bring it, bitch." And we know Daryl is pretty strong-willed even under torture and things. So I don't know that either one would have given the location. You might have had it completely different. They might have stumbled onto the sanctuary trying to find Daryl and Abraham.
Yeah, the smartest thing they could have done would be kill Daryl, and then if Sasha's life was in danger, Abraham definitely would have taken him where they would have done whatever they said.
Yeah. So. And that would have been the way to go, just in the sense of I just see those three, which that would have sucked, though, those three rolling up to Alexandria. They'd have been way in over their head because there was a lot more Alexandrians than there were saviors in that scenario. But that was interesting because we had that happen before even the outpost thing.
Yeah, it's true. That is totally true.
You're the ones who took out little Timmy and the Dick Brigade?
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they would have killed Sasha, that would have been interesting. I mean, you got to look at the Abraham-Rosita dynamic. With Sasha not there, would he have went back to Rosita?
Yeah.
I don't really – the lineup change, I don't know, man. Because, I mean, I feel like Abraham would be out for blood. I feel like Abraham still would have died because I feel like, he definitely would have still went on that run with them to get Maggie to the hilltop. And I feel like even more so now, once he finds out that he's face-to-face with the man that's ultimately responsible for Sasha's death, I don't even know if he would have just stopped at sticking his chest out. He might have just jumped up and started beating the hell out of Negan.
Yeah, it's hard to say, man. I mean, they might have done a lineup even sooner than that, Who who knows?
Yeah, but Sasha in the lineup didn't really influence anything. I mean, your main players in that were like Rick, Carl, Abraham, Glenn, and Daryl. I mean, the rest were just there and kind of terrified.
Yeah.
Maybe Rosita, just because of her reaction to Abraham's death, prompted Negan to taunt her with his blood and stuff. And then that. So, I mean, you can throw Rosita in there as a main player in a way just because of her being there influenced. But it's interesting that he, I don't know. He looked right at Sasha and gave the little peace sign. I mean, you think Negan would have definitely went to Sasha before Rosita.
Yeah.
But, I think things would have still like I said, I still think Abraham would have met his end in the lineup.
Yeah.
I still feel like, Sasha dying would have changed some things, but at the end of the day, Abraham would have still met Lucille, just maybe in a more aggressive way. Or you never know, though. You never know. We constantly, that's what I love about these. We constantly contradict ourselves. But, then again, would he? Because Negan won't the type to where if you jumped up and punched him, he killed you. I mean, he might have had Abraham punch him, and then Abraham survives the lineup, but instead he kills Rosita, or Sasha's gone. So it could have played out. It could have been a lot different.
Yeah,
because Negan, we see Daryl stood up and punched Negan, and it could have been Abraham that gets taken prisoner and all of that. But I don't know, man. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, well, wild stuff. Our good old friend Eternal Wreck has a good one here, kind of doing a little crossover action. What if Walter White and his family were on the road and ended up being a group in the prison story arc?
In the prison story arc. So are we just assuming they stumble onto the prison?
Yeah, I guess they kind of find it, or maybe this is when Daryl's out there, hard and heavy, searching for survivors and bringing them back. Maybe he finds them in the RV and brings them back, and
I'm Rick Grimes. Yeah. You got to pull your weight around here. What can you do? I can cook some meth.
Yeah.
Axel and Darren. Axel will be like, I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I think Walter White was resourceful, but I think he would still ultimately become a villain.
Either that or he definitely would have helped take out the governor. No half measures, man. Like the governor definitely wouldn't have just got shooed away at the end of season 4.
Well, the mid-season.
The mid-season. Walter White would have had some kind of wild explosive rigged up, and I don't know.
Oh yeah, would have sent Milton in there strapped with explosives.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there any wheelchair bound Walking Dead character he could have rigged an explosive to?
No, there was that old lady that one time that. I don't know, the governor was being sweet to, but you just have Milton stroll in there, be like, Philip, boom.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I could still see Walter White becoming a bad guy. It would be awesome because he would probably start off good. Now it depends though. Walter White, is he Walter White or is he Heisenberg? Because those are two totally different people. Walter White in the beginning, if the apocalypse happened in the beginning of the show, and I know that, people are like, oh, his blue sky is what caused the apocalypse, but let's just assume, one scenario, Walter White never becomes Heisenberg, hadn't gotten to that point yet, not long after he gets the idea to cook meth, the zombie apocalypse happens. Right. Would he have become a villain then? Heisenberg going into the apocalypse, I think would have totally been a villain because I think he would have done whatever it took to get to the top. He was basically, that was Walter White's story as he started as a nobody and got power hungry.
Yeah, I definitely think he would have, if he did become a villain, it would have been with the best of intentions.
Oh, yeah, I don't think he would be evil for the sake of being evil. But I do think he's a man who likes to build an empire. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's ruthless. I would love to see Bryan Cranston, even not as Heisenberg, on The Walking Dead in some capacity.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. He's great in anything he does.
But I think, Bryan Cranston's one of the greats. But I think that, I don't know. I think that he would have survived for a long time. You have no law. Ultimately, what brought him down was, saving Jesse and all of that. But without the law after him, who knows? I think he would have survived.
Yeah, and Rick wasn't exactly at his strongest during the whole prison thing. He had quite a few breakdowns, and I think it would have opened the door for Heisenberg to kind of take over the stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. He would have come in and be like, this guy's clearly crazy.
Yeah, and with the meth man, he definitely would have been able to flip Merle on his side.
I was going to say, Merle would, I said Axel, but as soon as he come in, I was like, I can cook you some meth. Merle would be like, hell yeah, y'all.
Yeah.
I voted him in.
Yep. So I think that would be a very fun cross.
I think Merle would become one of his henchmen because he would just keep feeding Merle meth to keep Merle under his thumb.
Yeah.
Axel was pretty weak-minded. I could have seen him controlling Axel. But it'd been cool to have like a three-way war. Heisenberg versus Rick versus the governor versus Heisenberg. Just like a trifecta of battles. Heisenberg would have just, like they're running up the hill into the battle and it's just people in wheelchairs flying past them with explosives. Where's he finding all these old people?
God, man, that's a good question. Who's the most annoying wife, Lori or Skylar?
Man, but you look at Skylar and it's like, yes, she was, I pretty much hated her by the end of that show. Mm-hmm. But she really didn't do anything wrong in regards to like, how do you react when your husband is, off doing whatever, and then you find out he's like one of the biggest meth dealers on the planet, and it's really only because we followed him so closely that we saw her as an annoyance in the way that he would have. You know what I'm saying?
And in the first episode, she did look like she gave a really good hand job. So
yeah,
there's that.
An old fashioned.
Yeah. But no, that's a good one, Internal Rec. Always love when you throw a good thing like that at us.
We need food. Can you cook? You're goddamn right.
Oh man.
Oh, meth. Food. No. I cook meth. Hell yeah.
Oh man. And the good thing is when you're on meth, you don't need food. So it's
my man.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a methed out Merle out there killing zombies?
Oh my God, dude. All right, hitting up the next one with Ashley O'Neill. What if the Saviors killed Carl without Negan knowing how? Do you think Negan and Rick would have reacted, and how would it have changed the story?
Wow, that's a good one. I don't think that he and Negan would have joined forces, but I think Negan would have cleaned house with whoever was responsible.
Oh, absolutely. Man.
Negan would have made. Negan would have made. I could see Negan doing something to the effect of like rolling up to Alexandria with like the Saviors who killed Carl and killing them in front of Rick, being like, now what other enemy of yours would do this? Basically used them almost as an example and a bargaining chip. Like, I'm on, I have your best interest, blah, blah, blah. I feel like he would have definitely reacted. Rick would have just become more bloodthirsty than he already wrote. He already was on a path of vengeance, but he would have just had a whole new, kind of in the way that we see him react. What is it, after the season 8 mid-season finale? I feel like that we would have gotten that Rick just a lot earlier on.
Oh yeah, dude, he'd have been out for blood, seeing red.
But I do think Negan would have definitely reacted. I think that I could, like I said, I could totally see him driving those people up to the gates of Alexandria, telling Rick, like, more or less, you're still gonna fall in line, but let me show you. In an act of good faith, here's the men. Or he might would have drove them up and, gave Rick the chance to kill him as a kind of a peace offering in the sense of like, now get in line and follow me, Yeah. Because Negan's whole thing was he kept trying to point out like what a good dictator he was. And, we're going to leave you all. Your food rations are looking a little low, so we're not even going to touch that. He constantly wanted you to feel like, yes, he was a dictator, but he was a kind and, a merciful dictator. So I feel like in his own way. But then again, I don't know. Negan has a temper, and Negan might have just snapped right there and killed them both. Might have just rolled up to Alexandria and rolled their heads across the field and been like, just so you know, these are the two dickwads who killed your boy. As you could see, I've taken care of them for you. Something to that effect. But I don't think it would have brought Rick and Negan together.
Not necessarily.
Because Rick would still blame Negan for the death.
Yeah.
Rick would still ultimately say that, regardless of who did it, you're responsible. He would have never been there if it wasn't for you. And Negan might have, Negan would definitely, I don't think, though, it would have, because even after he found out Carl died, Negan just doubled down even harder now. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, it would have just drove them both to fight harder against each other.
Yeah, there never would have been peace.
Ain't no peace in the valley.
Nah, but thank you, Ashley. You know we love you. And speaking of love, big love for Allie Smith a mere 10 hours ago. This isn't a what if, but I'm curious to hear your guys' perspectives. Do you prefer Rick and Andrea's relationship in the comic or Rick and Michonne's in the TV show, and why?
That is tough.
Because, I mean, they're very different characters in a lot of ways. It's just Rick from comic to show. I mean, you know.
Well, even the relationships were they were different, but they were similar, because in the comics, Andrea became a badass, not with a sword, but, she was a good shot. She was basically the group's sniper.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I mean, I loved Denai Guerrero so much. I just want to say Rick and Michonne just because I love her so much. But it was just one of those things, we actually had somebody tell us we were racist. Remember that? Because you and I at first were like, it's not that we don't approve or don't like it. It just came out of nowhere. Like they've been growing close, but they're just like, from a writing perspective with Jess, we got all these little situations where it seemed like there was some romantic chemistry there. Whereas with Michonne, it had always seemed like a straight up friend basis. They were close friends. And I mean, it almost would have been like Daryl and Rick just started making out. So, but now after it had, after we got over the initial, like, wow, that was out of nowhere. I really like Rick and Michonne together.
I do too, man. I do too. I think I definitely was more invested in Andrea and Rick's relationship. Because I don't
I mean, you had been. I mean, think about how long. I mean, you go a month between those comics too. So for you as the reader, that relationship lasted a lot longer. Mm-hmm. It probably felt than Michonne and Rick.
Yeah, and just the way things ended. It's one of those things I don't want to drop heavy comic spoilers, man. But it just that was just whew.
Yeah, it was rough. I really liked Rick and Andrea in the comics. I don't know. That is really tough as far as who I like more. I mean, I like them both for their own reasons, but at the same time, show Michonne took a lot of comic Andrea's parts, like that whole scene when she's up in the tower and she's fighting that savior, and then one of them gets thrown off the side. That was straight out the comics, except for it was Andrea and not Michonne. Mm-hmm. So, because that's where Negan's like, holy shit, you just watched one of your people die, whatever. Someone you love just die or something. But a lot of aspects of Rick and Michonne's relationship in the show was lifted from Andrea and Rick's in the comics. Oh, so, definitely. I mean, they're almost tit for tat when you think about it. They're very different characters, but kind of not really. Not when you consider the way they shaped Michonne going, from Andrea dying in the show. So, man, that is tough. You're going with Andrea and Rick in the comics?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's I hate to pull a JP, but I might have to take a rain check on that one.
Hey, man, sleep on it.
I really don't know. I mean, Rick and Andrea in the comics, I don't know. I mean, they just were indicators. That, you know what I mean? I don't know. It just, I don't know. That's tough. I'll tell you what, since I like them both, I'm gonna Negan this shit. You ready?
No, geez.
All right. Andrea and Rick, Michonne and Rick. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a Michonne and an Andrea by the toe. If they holler, let them go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, that landed on Andrea and Rick.
So are you bashing them with the bat, or is that who you're choosing as who you like the most?
Both.
All right. So you like them the most, and that's why you're going to murder them with a bat.
They say that the part of the brain that loves is very close to the part of the brain that hates, and sometimes you get the two confused.
I believe that. But good stuff. Let's see. Sammy, what if the governor didn't kill Axel back in season 3? How would this have changed the story? How would he react to the new world, Terminus, Alexandria, etc.?
Well, that's interesting because actually there was a dropped plot line with Axel where he was going to beat Carol's ass and then drag Beth into the woods and chop her head off. Because, you notice, they had set up for it because you notice Axel was always wearing long sleeves and always kind of covered up in the prison jumpsuit and the long sleeve button-up shirt because it was going to be revealed that he had, tattoo sleeves all the way up his arms because apparently, according to the writers, if you have a lot of tattoos, you're a psycho who wants to murder teenage girls.
Right.
But regardless, that was going to be one of the plot points. And then kind of taking the Thomas role from the comics. Mm-hmm. Again, big spoilers, won't really go into that. But it played out similar. But the Axel that we ended up with, I thought Axel was pretty much a useless character. I mean, he gave us a chuckle a time or two, but I mean, I really thought that they really did a disservice to Axel in the comics because I liked Axel in the comics. You follow me?
Right.
He was like a big jolly biker Santa Claus, and I mean, he wasn't necessarily a badass fighter, but he just had a lot more depth to his character. I want to say, or I don't know if I want to say depth, but he just had more personality in the comics. And then we got this wussy little, like, please don't kill us. I'm so sorry. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan. It's not the actor's fault, but I just wasn't a big fan of how Axel was portrayed in the show. I mean,
right.
He seemed to be growing on us a little bit.
I definitely think that would have been a great opportunity for them to do, like you said, like, the original plan, make him an interesting character, even if that is a serial killer.
Oh, yeah. I think that what we should have had is Axel survive the governor's assault only to find out that Axel's a psychopath. So now not only are they dealing with the governor, but they got trouble within. It's the only way it would have made that character interesting, which the most interesting points he had, there was two parts. The only really two parts I could think of that I really liked Axel, and that was when he had the lesbian conversation with Carol, when he was being real creepy towards Beth, who was supposed to be like 17. Why, isn't that interesting? Or something like that. And then Carol basically is like, yo, pedophile, come here. And then he's like, I'm sorry, it just ain't many women. He's with so-and-so and she's with so-and-so. And, well, you're a lesbian. She's like, I'm not a lesbian. You got the short hair. Like, that part was good. And then I liked his conversation with Carol right before he caught a bullet to the head. Like, that's like the only two times where he really shined for me. So, I mean, I don't know if he would have stayed the character he was. I still think he would have just been a meat shield down the road.
Yeah, man, he was totally forgettable and a just really poor adaptation from an awesome comic book character.
I mean, yeah, that really, that's as much as I love The Walking Dead. I mean, all you got to do is come down to my man cave. It's clear I love The Walking Dead. However, they really do have a knack sometimes for taking really beloved characters and just dumbing them down big time for the show.
Yeah. But still, interesting perspective.
Weren't
him
Sammy? Not big spoilers, but him and Carol were boning for a little bit in the comic, won't they? Was it? No, it won't. It was Patricia, won't it?
Yeah. I was getting ready to say I know it was somebody. I can't remember who. But they got a good nut in before the the final battle, I think. Taylor Madden, here's a good one. What if the CRM knows about the Commonwealth, but they decide not to attack or interact with them, possibly because of how many people the Commonwealth has? Maybe the CRM sends in a group of people to join the Commonwealth to get inside information on them. What do you think about the CRM possibly being intimidated by the Commonwealth?
Good question. And then we get a lot. You notice we've gotten a lot of those in the last few weeks. A lot of CRM versus Commonwealth questions.
People
a lot of people really seeing it go in the way of like the final showdown being the CRM and the Commonwealth. I mean, I think they're absolutely intimidated by the Commonwealth because the Commonwealth is, maybe doesn't have the population. We don't know anything about the Commonwealth yet because we know that the show sometimes will take liberties with the comics. So, I mean, for all we know, the Commonwealth has 500,000 people. Versus in the comics, I think it's somewhere around, 50,000?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're looking at the CRM, which it's like, 200,000 plus people deep, and then the 50,000. But still, I mean, 50,000, any kind of military strategy will tell you, yeah, we can beat them, but it's probably going to come at some decent casualties. Is it really worth engaging and losing that much life if they're leaving us alone? So, yeah, I absolutely think that they could be on the CRM's radar and the CRM could, you never know, they might do business together. But, I definitely think the CRM is I'm not going to say intimidated to the point where they're like scared to death of them. But I think in a little regard, I mean, versus like Alexandria, you got a couple hundred people in that whole community versus 50,000, and they do have their own military force. So even if you can beat them, you're still going to go to war in a sense. Whereas like with Alexandria, it'd just be a slaughter. You just roll up with all your people and gun them and go on.
Yeah.
The Commonwealth has the ability to fight back. And, so, yeah, I definitely think they would have some concern about the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I don't think they're like shaking in their boots, but they're definitely not going to take them lightly. That's for sure.
Right. I mean, unless we find out about other civilizations, thus far, the Commonwealth seems like the closest thing that could rival the CRM.
Yep. So that's That's definitely going to be interesting to see how that turns out, Taylor. And we will definitely be keeping you posted on any updates regarding the storylines crossing over and merging and stuff.
Yeah, which I wish they would do more of.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, at the end of the line, we've got the Kyle, King of Trash People, and then we would have hit everyone with at least one good question.
We didn't get Stefan, though.
Thing. I thought we started out with Stefan, did we not?
Nope. You started off with UV.
Okay.
So we'll do this one, the trash people, and then we'll end with one from Stefan.
Gotcha. Let's see. If you were up against the Whisperer Horde, and you, like Luke, were preparing to lure them away and over a cliff with loud music, you can pick 3 songs that will play on a loop over the loudspeaker to lead them. What 3 songs do you pick to get their attention and keep your group fighting all night? I would use Marilyn Manson's Fight Song, Crystal Method's Calling All Freaks, and Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Oh, good choices. All zombie related. None of mine were even zombie related.
Yeah, I'm only familiar with one of those.
I would start off with Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up" because I'm sorry, but it's the apocalypse. I got to get the king of Rick rolls in there. You know what I'm saying? So I would start it out with Rick Astley or Rick Astley or Ashley, however you say his name. "Never Gonna Give You Up." Let's see, what's another one I would use? While I'm thinking, what would you use?
I would use Patsy Cline's "Walking After Midnight." I would
have to use Johnny Cash's "Walk the Line," just
there you go.
Because they're walking in a line.
The Rolling Stones, "Hey, you get off of my cloud." You remember that one?
Yeah,
I'd use that, and maybe then just something like the Village People doing like YMCA.
I think
that'd be fun.
That is good. That's a great choice. I've got it. You ready?
All right.
Rick Ashley. I'm sorry, I'm saying his name wrong, but it's Rick, the Rick Roll song, the "Never Gonna Give You Up, Never Gonna Let You Down."
That's gonna be my
then it would be Johnny Cash's "Walk the Line," and then I would end it with Van Halen's "Jump." Might as well jump.
Oh, yeah.
I would hope that the first one would be the Rick Roll. So it's like, oh, he just Rick rolled them, and then it's like, I walk the line, because they're actually walking in a line, and then as they go over the cliff, it turns to Van Halen's "Jump." Might as well jump. And like all the zombies going off the edge.
Yeah.
Dope question, man. I like that one.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That is a fun one.
Not so much for the zombies, but fun for us.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Like that would be fun. Like, all right, we're gonna kill the zombies by lowering them off a cliff. What's the playlist? Does it matter? It absolutely matters.
Let's see. Stefan's got a lot of good ones, as always. Just something we haven't, because he's got some stuff with Negan. We've kind of touched on Negan in lineups. We've talked about the Saviors. Let's go to what if the Claimers end up with Glenn and Tara instead of Daryl in season 4 after the prison escape and Daryl meets up with Abraham's group? Would Glenn and Tara have stayed with the Claimers, or would Glenn have convinced them to go with him to find his wife?
I think they would have parted ways with them the second they all went to sleep. I don't think there's any way Glenn would have stayed with those people. And I mean, Glenn, you're not going to reason with them either. I don't think that Glenn would want those people. I mean, we saw with Abraham and everybody else, he was willing to go off on his own. So I definitely don't think he's so desperate for a crew that he would try to get these guys. I think if they ran into him, which, I mean, these people were despicable. Who's not to say they wouldn't have claimed Tara?
Yeah, I think the first mention of a child rape also probably, would have sent up some red flags.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they were willing to rape Carl. I'm sure they would have raped Tara or tried to. So, no, I don't think Glenn and Tara would have been with them very long at all.
No, man. I think they, like, right out the gate, they would have been like, yeah, these guys are a little off. You see the way they were looking at you, Tara? Oh, wow, that guy's got it hanging out there. Yeah, we should go.
That guy just killed the other guy because he told a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, these people are hardcore. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
But, I don't think they would have stayed with them very long at all. And then the other question was, what if Daryl ended up with Abraham and them?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, he definitely wouldn't have been down for the trip to D.C.
No, he wouldn't have.
Daryl would have been like that friend that is always around but never wants to go with you anywhere. Because, in life, you got those friends where you say, hey, let's go so-and-so. Some of your friends just hop right in the car, and some are like, I'm going to head home. Yeah. You're like, come on, loser, get in. We're going to Zaxby's. But yeah, no, Daryl would have just been like, good luck to you. Mm-hmm. I believe his slugfest with Abraham would have went a little bit differently.
Oh, God.
Which I give it to Glenn, man, to be like 130 pounds soaking wet, or 140, however much Stephen Yin had to have weighed then. I mean, he ain't no big guy at all. I mean, he hung in there with big old Abraham pretty decently. I mean, I think Abraham ultimately would have won, but I mean, he kind of knocked him back quite a bit with that right hand. Or that, I honestly can't remember which hand he swung, but I mean, Glenn did all right, but I think Daryl would have put up much. It'd have been a much different fight. Yeah,
well, I mean, we saw what he did with such a big guy like Beta, so I definitely think Abraham would have had a fight on his hands.
Oh, absolutely. But no, I don't. I mean, I think the plot would have obviously Daryl would have went with them, but I don't think it would have been. It would have to be some common interest, like well, that's the way I'm going anyways. I'll ride with you up to a certain point, and then I'm going to get out. But I mean, it's like Abraham was pretty much trying to force Glenn and Tara to go with him.
Yeah, dude.
So I mean, I feel like he would have pulled the same thing with Daryl, but Daryl's a whole different animal than Glenn. Oh, Daryl's not as easy to tame, which Glenn won't either. I mean, Stephen Yin, we love you. Please come back as Glenn. But I mean, like, Glenn was a good character. I mean, he definitely he had grown to quite the fighter there. But Daryl's like an animal, man. I don't think that it would have went as well for Abraham and his group.
No, I don't either.
I mean, he might have gotten advantage to the point where Rosita ended up shooting his ass.
You never know.
But some great questions. Keep them coming. We can't do this without your questions, and we appreciate all of you for leaving them. And if you leave a lot and we don't get to all of yours, that's not, we have time constrictions because we're kind of doing this on a lunch break, which is at like early in the morning. But, so if you got questions, leave them. If you got one we didn't answer, repost it in the bottom, and I promise we'll eventually get to it. And don't forget to check out our Patreon. There are some changes that come into the podcast. And we've got 2 home studios to build. Mine is almost done, but we've also got to build JP's home studio. And those things ain't cheap.
No.
I mean, like, when you get to talking about vocal processors and boards and soundproof, I mean, it all adds up. And we've been very fortunate and very thankful for the patrons we have now. But, every little bit counts. I mean, for $1 a month up to, 5 or 10, we would, however much you can donate, we would appreciate. But for as little as $1 a month, you get 8 extra podcasts every month, and they are totally off the wall and could be about The Walking Dead. They could be about why JP wants me to do hallucinogenics with him. The conversation just goes everywhere. So, and you get a lot more behind the scenes on that, like as far as what's happening in our lives and all of that. If you're interested in that kind of thing, the Patreon is there, and we would love to have your support. If not, we still appreciate your support and listening right here. So, we'll see you soon, tomorrow, actually, on the Patreon, and then we'll be back here Wednesday for something.
Something, yeah, we'll figure it out.
I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.